Kann einfach rüber.
Ready to go.
Okay. And here we are. Welcome. Welcome to our session. Welcome to Teams phone system, a must-have for modern workplace. And welcome to the CloudEight Virtual Summit, the third one. And I think it's a good time to start with a short introduction.
Should we? Really? But first of all, we would like to thank you to our sponsors, to IT Point, to 365, the Microsoft blog, to Scriptrunner. Thanks a lot for your support and sponsoring the community. Without you, this wouldn't be possible. So thanks a lot for your sponsoring here. And next, I will over into Michael.
Thank you. I almost forgot the sponsor thought it's at the end. Thank you. A short introduction to myself. I'm an MVP for Office Apps and Services, which is basically, in my person, Microsoft Teams. So that's also the stuff I'm usually do to earn money and to live from. So I'm a co-founder and CEO of a small company named Into Success. We are focusing on Teams and user adoption, change management, and the combination of all of these topics. I'm running the Teams user group Germany with a chapter in Munich, and also running the adoption and change forum in Munich together with some well-known people. The first one, the German Teams user group, is with Thomas Pött, and the other ones is with Antje Lamartine and Corinna Linz.
Okay.
And I do have a project together with Thorsten.
Yay!
And that's maybe the best way to hand over to Thorsten.
It's the best way. It is. Okay, yeah. My name is Thorsten Pickern. I'm working as Microsoft UC consultant since almost 10 years now, I guess. Currently at Glucania GAB. You can find me on different social media platforms like Twitter, but also on LinkedIn. I'm very active in the community, in the Microsoft community, so you can find me here and there as speaker, but also I have an own blog on office365.topic.de where I'm blogging about my experience, my knowledge from my projects, which of course have a focus on Microsoft Teams and of course have a focus on Microsoft UC, Enterprise Voice, audio codes, all the technologies around it. I have a weekly publishing on my video blog on YouTube, where I have short videos about Office 365 and some quick tips how to use the different Microsoft 365 services and how to get the most of them. I'm partner of the M365 Talk and also host for the Teams user group Germany, here with a location in Bochum in the Ruhr area, and when it's possible we will meet us there on site. Currently it's a virtual event, of course. And then I guess we can start with the session itself. So what can you expect from the next 40 minutes, I guess?
We will talk about why we think that was quick.
Sorry. Yeah.
We will talk about the why we think a modern workplace should have telephony enabled. We will talk about what can you do to achieve this goal and how you should proceed with the implementation or with the steps you can go with the integration. And last but not least, we do have a secret. So stay tuned.
And we will start to see what is a modern workplace, or what is the request for a modern workplace. So the modern workplace itself, I guess it started already 2 years or almost 3 years ago, where the company thought about a modern workplace, and it had a huge impact, of course, when the pandemic starts in March last year. It was a requirement that it's possible to work from home, from anywhere. So this is the first step, or the first requirement, the first request, or first definition for a modern workplace, that it is possible to work from anywhere. It doesn't matter if we work from the office, from the home office, from mobile, if we are on travel when it's possible, if we are working from a coffee, Starbucks coffee, or a restaurant, hotel, it should be able to us that we can work. And of course, this work should be extensive, so we should have access to all our data, we should have access to our programs, to our tools, independent from where we are working. And it should be secure. So it's important that it's a encrypted connection between me and my work, of course. It's important that this work is safe. I will not exchange any malware or transfer any malware to the company, to the file share in the company, but also that I'm protected against accidental deletion of some files or some data. So it should be loss-free. And at the end, it's more important than ever that we are able to work together. It doesn't matter from where we are working. It should be possible to work with my team, with my colleagues, with different departments, or even sites and locations, of course. And to achieve all this together, of course, we will find all these fundamentals in Microsoft Teams, because Microsoft 365 services are offering all these parameters. It is secure. I can use DLP. I can use Azure Information Protection. I have Defender for Office 365 to protect my data against malware. I can work from anywhere. It doesn't matter if I have a Linux system or a Windows system, if I have a tablet or a PC, if I'm working from home or from my company. And Microsoft Teams has this possibility to combine all this stuff into one tool. I do not have to switch between different tools. All these parameters are combined in Microsoft Teams. But of course, what most of the people are missing here is the telephony. So what about the telephony? When I'm not in the office, I'm not reachable here in my office under my office number. And of course, it's not possible to take away the desk phone from the table in the office to me at home, because there's a physical limitation. I have a landline between this, and so it's not possible to take the desk phone with me at home. And so the question is, how can I achieve that even when I'm in a home office, it's possible to do PSTN telephony? And here Michael will give us some information, because we have a solution for this, of course.
Yeah, the first idea is, I've heard about this. You can use Teams with telephony. And yes, you can. But there are two options where you should choose from, or could choose from. It depends on your current situation. The first one is you can go for cloud only, which means basically you don't have any local component anymore. The full service is running by Microsoft. Everything is hosted in the cloud. And the other one is you still have some local components and you still have some good options. Let me put it this way, with these local components to do a bit more as maybe with a cloud solution. We will go a little bit deeper into the details within the next couple slides. But this is something you should choose from, and sometimes it's not a selection, the first one or the other one. Sometimes it depends on your specific requirements. It's an or instead of an, sorry, it's an and instead of an or. Let's go to the next slide, please.
Okay. So, as Michael already explained, the first option is to use the full service by Microsoft. The basic for this is, of course, Microsoft Teams, because we are talking about Microsoft Teams as a phone system. And then we also need a component, it is called phone system add-on or phone system. And then it depends on your current licensing. So if you have a 1 license plan or a E3 license plan or some F license plans, then you have to buy the phone system as an add-on. If you have the luxury about an E5 license, the phone system is already included in your current licensing plan. And then on top of this basement of Microsoft 365, Microsoft Teams and the phone system add-on, you can choose if you would like to use Microsoft calling plans. And this is option 1 Michael described earlier. So everything is from Microsoft. Microsoft will become your telephony provider and you will migrate or request new numbers from Microsoft for the telephony. The second option is to use direct routing. Here we have the same basement, so Microsoft 365 with Microsoft Teams, phone system on top. Then you are able to do phone calls, and with direct routing, you will implement an SBC in your infrastructure, and this is a component Microsoft Michael explained earlier. This is an on-premise component because we will use the SBC to terminate the zip trunk or the PSTN connection from your provider. So we will take this connection and connect it to Microsoft Teams. So at the end, we need an E1 license, an E3 license, together with the phone system add-on. And then we have this magic of a session border controller, which I will talk later on. And this all together combined will provide Microsoft phone system telephony with your current existing contract. The other step is E5, where the phone system is already included, and then you also need a session border controller. But let's take a deeper look into the calling plans, Michael.
Yeah, when we talk about Microsoft is only, or the solution would be Microsoft is your provider, is responsible for the telephony. Yeah, Microsoft is really getting your provider in all scenarios. They are hosting the telephony system, Teams basically, but they are also responsible for the telephone numbers. So if you have anything to change in your number range, or you want to add a new number range, you want to migrate your existing number range, you want to switch from a user phone number to a service number, you will have contact with Microsoft. They are your PSTN provider. Some parts you can do on your own, but some parts are related to Microsoft. And then you have another point where you should really aware of before you start with the migration. When you start and think, that sounds good, the service is completely in the cloud, Microsoft is doing everything for us, perfect. But you just have some countries. I think it's not too less anymore. There are really a bunch of new countries coming up this month, and I would say you can get about 25, think 25 or 30 countries in the meantime with cloud-only solution for Microsoft. But it's limited to the countries. Every country has its own limitations, regulations for telephony, and there is also Microsoft struggling to get this pretty fast enabled for Microsoft. So it took quite a while to bring the telephony outside of US, Germany, for example. It took a while for the new countries, like, let me pick one, I think Norway is one of these new countries. So check the countries you're actually looking for. But if you have this country, it doesn't matter where the city is. The other point is, whenever you buy something from Microsoft, you get a license. That's the same for telephony. And you pay not a flat rate, not per minute. You pay a license which is assigned to a user and has some different minute packages. You pay per use, yes, but you have a combination with the packages you have and the different requirements you may consider for the telephony. Let's go for the next slide. For example, you do have different options to buy a license. Everything is called calling plan. Yes. And then you get different calling minutes. You get a package for national calls only. You get a package for national and international calls. You get a package with a bit more national calls. But every package is for the user, and they can be pooled, but they can just be pooled from the same type. So for example, when you take a look on the left side, we have 4 different users with a domestic national calling plan with 120 minutes. This is 480 minutes combined. And you have another one, another 3 with international minutes, 600 international minutes. There are 1,800 international minutes. You also get some national calling minutes, domestic calling minutes for these 3 people. But these domestic calling minutes are not combined to the existing 480. So whenever someone from the 4 people on the left side is making a national call, they use the 480 minutes. If someone is using them, that's fine. If everyone is using just a part of it, it's also fine, no matter what. If someone's using from the 3 people in the middle, is dialing out in a national call, they use their own bunch of minutes instead of using the existing 480. That's good on the one side, but bad on the other side. So for example, of course, sometimes you have some international minutes or international calls where one user of the 480 minutes of one of the 4 left ones is doing an international call. There you get some communication credits. Another payment fee which coming in, something like a prepaid card with a specific country calling from, calling to table and some specific rates. And in this combination, no one will touch the international minutes, even if they are full available in the company. They are not able to choose to use these international minutes. And you can see it on the right side. There are also different packages for the domestic call, for the national call. So you have someone with a package about 240 minutes. It's the same for 2 users, but they cannot exchange the different packages. They are not related. They are just pooled from the same license package combination. It's a bit tricky. And it's still one of the best solutions if you have the option and it's okay from the money perspective. To be honest, it's not the cheapest solution, but you get the full solution out of the cloud. You get the full solution from Microsoft. No server, no maintenance, almost no downtime. You don't have any further issues like an internal should be aware of the specific cards of your telephony system, running these, available on every bank holiday, available on every vacation, whatever. It's a service, full service out of the cloud, and you have a single point of contact for everything you need. That's really a good side. On the other hand, there are some issues when you go just into the cloud. And there is the other option with the local component, where you can get the best of both worlds. You still get most of the hosting solutions from the service, but you can combine it with the local component. You can use the existing contracts. You can use the existing maybe different requirements you have. So if you have, for example, one solution coming in with different number ranges, you can use it still and just terminate it on the SBC and go to the Microsoft Teams. You don't have to enable everyone for Microsoft Teams telephony system. You can use some legacy devices, and you can go for some fancy solutions like a centralized zip trunk, which means you can combine different countries coming into one point in your organization. You have just one point to hold the SBCs, the hardware for that, and you can go for a specific plan to enable Teams telephony for your company one by one or group by group, country by country, whatever you like, and you're not enforced to put everything to Microsoft on the first step. In Germany, for example, we do have a regulation for the telephony. You are not able to migrate a single number. You have to migrate the full number range. For example, the 1000 until 1999, instead of just 20 test numbers for the migration to Microsoft Teams. So there are definitely some good points for the hybrid, mixed. Let me put it mixed solution. It's not a hybrid as some Exchange or Skype for Business hybrid servers.
Skype for Business? What is Skype for Business?
A legacy device, legacy solution.
Okay. So if you come to the point where you think Microsoft Teams could be a solution for me as a phone system replacement, there are some points we think we need to consider of. So first of all, of course, we have to be aware of the different users we have in the company itself. They learned over the decades how to use the classic PBX system, and now you would like to use them Microsoft Teams as a new Microsoft or as a new telephony system, and of course they have to learn it. Perhaps the users are already using headsets, but in most projects the users are still using desk phones. So something new also there. Not only the software will change or the behavior, the handling of the software, the telephony itself, there's also a new device for the user, a headset. Then we should be aware of the IP phones itself, as I said. So if you have desk phones on the table, on the front desk, it's possible to replace them with Microsoft native IP phones. but then you have perhaps some other requirements regarding the cabling and all this stuff. So you need a network connection to the desk, and yeah, but it's possible. Then we have also a DECT. DECT infrastructure allows me to travel around, to go around on the company, on the campus, and to do inbound, outbound calls without losing the connection. And here we have some bad news for you. This is currently not possible to implement a DECT system native with Microsoft Teams because there's no solution currently. So one option is to use the existing DECT system with another number range you are using in Teams, or the other solution is, of course, to give mobile phones to the end user to implement the Teams mobile app, which is working very brilliant on the mobile device, also in combination with the phone system itself, and to use a mobile phone together with the Teams mobile app as DECT replacement. Then, of course, we have some conference rooms in the company normally, where are some telephony devices. And here we have also do a deeper look how to replace them. Microsoft is offering here a special license. It's called Teams Room license. And the Teams Room license includes the Teams license itself, the phone system license, the PSTN in conferencing license. So you are able to invite people and add a phone number from the Microsoft Global Network, participants can join via PSTN dial-in to your conference. And there's also an Intune license included, so you have a device management over the cloud directly. Also, there are some special devices like the Teams Room device. It's a combination of a little computing unit together with a webcam and some audio devices. And there are also the Collab bars based on Android, which are especially for smaller conference rooms. Then we have the public area, like the library, for example, where we find normally also some phones. And I guess we will will we answer the questions later on, or? Yeah, okay.
Yes, please.
So in the public area, we found normal telephones which are not personalized, so there's not a dedicated user to this phone dedicated. So we have a common area phone, and here's the question how to achieve this. Of course, we can use the IP phones. They are wall mountable, so it's possible. And here too, Microsoft provides a special license. It is called Common Area Phone License. It includes the Microsoft Teams license together with the phone system license. And then you can create some special phone system policies in the cloud, which restrict, for example, these devices to do outbound calls and to allow internal calls and emergency calls, but it's not possible to do international calls or premium rate calls or something like that. And here the same, we have the often a DECT system, a DECT infrastructure. This is currently not possible because we do not have any support about DECT native with Teams. Then we have, of course, always in a company a switchboard, a hotline, how to find here the correct solution. Microsoft is offering here the services auto attendant and call queue. When you buy the first phone system license, you will get access to these both components, auto attendant and call queue. Auto attendant provides a mechanism to do time-based routing, to have different call routing actions. Normally, these calls are routed to a call queue itself, or it could also be that you can route the call to an external phone number outside of the business hours, for example. You have the option to integrate a welcome message for business hours, for non-business hours, for holidays. This all is possible with an auto attendant. And when you route the call to a call queue, there you have a call queue with different agents, and the call is signaled to them and they can answer the call. So with both features, auto attendant and call queue, which are included when you buy the first phone system license, you are able to implement a front desk or also some light hotlines like an IT service hotline internal. Of course, the agents here can use a normal headset or an IP phone on the desk. And when you would like to extend the features of the Teams client itself, there are also some third-party solutions like Landis Computer, which providing a special Attendant Pro console for the front desk. And last but not least, we have the analog endpoints. What are the analog endpoints? These are normally fax machines, any modem connections, intercom in an elevator, for example, door opener systems or alarm systems. Here it's important to know that currently with the calling plan, Microsoft doesn't support analog endpoints. So if you still have some analog endpoints, perhaps there's already the decision made for Teams direct routing, or you have to use Teams direct routing, because with Teams direct routing and the SBC, it's possible to connect these legacy analog endpoints to the phone system itself. So SBC, this is a good hint for the next slide. SBC anywhere. An SBC translates a provider zip to Microsoft Teams and vice versa. What is an SBC? It is a short form of Session Border Controller. And yeah, it allows us to communicate from a public zip provider to Microsoft Teams. Of course, there's an RFC for zip, but most vendors, most providers have an own interpretation of this RFC norm, and therefore we have usually the problem that the provider zip doesn't fit to 100% to the PBX or to Microsoft Teams, for example. So normal inbound, outbound call will work, of course, but when you try to put an inbound call on hold and to resume the call, these are extended features which are interpreted by the different PSTN providers in a different fashion, and then you need the SBC to translate these on hold comment to the PSTN provider side and vice versa too. And an SBC provides some security. I would say it's a firewall. A network guy will kill me, I guess, but it's some kind of firewall for zip communication. So an SBC protects us against zip fraud or VoIP fraud attacks from the outside world. Because at the end, you have to remember that an SBC has a public IP address, so it's possible to communicate from external with this device. An SBC itself could be physical or virtual. It depends on your needs. And of course, we have a support for a public cloud provider like Amazon AWS and Microsoft Azure. Here you find on the marketplace normal SBC templates from Ribbon, from audio codes, and can install it directly. But yeah, a lot of technology. And now I will give over to Michael.
You can call me Microsoft today. That's okay for me.
No,
yeah,
it's not okay.
Okay. As Thorsten already mentioned, this is a lot of technology, and he already said when you make the transition to a new telephony system, when you make the transition to a new handling way from the existing desk phone, traditional desk phone, to a headset, for example, there's a huge change. Even if the users are not comfortable with the soft client, there's a huge change. And That's important to understand when you start your projects. It's also important where you don't just think about the technology, you should think about the people as well. They are most important part of your company, and you should be in the situation to think about them. Let's go on the next slide to visualize it a bit more. First of all, you should consider what kind of people you have. And when you think about your company, you identify your people pretty fast. You create your personas, you create the group of people. You get maybe the idea of someone who is working in an office, who's working creatively, who's working in a facility or in retail. And then you should consider how to go into the training perspective. What is a good idea to train the different people, to bring the technology to them? The first one is you should communicate. Communication is the most important point of everything. But some different target groups of your communication react on a different way when you start to communicate with them. For example, the C-level. You should usually address the same topic on a completely different way to the C-level as you do on a regular user. Especially in the CXO office, you have the assistances which can help you or even bring the whole project to a full stop. You should consider to train them and make them aware of the change. They will handle the most of the daily work of the CXO. So they are important, very, very important for the CXO level. An IT department is usually not so training intensive. They can get the product and get can handle that on their own. But you can use it as a pilot. So you can use them as some feedback groups and do some tests and make some tests before you go to other people in your company. When you think about the persona, someone like sales, you have different requirements because they may have 99% or 90% on a phone of their daily work. So they are really important to get them on board for telephony. You should consider about marketing. Do they have different needs? But also think about people in the retail area, in the manufacturing area, where they still work on a machine or walk over the floor and talk with other customers, where the money is actually coming from. So you won't stop them to do their work. You just give a new option and bring a better way to work to their regular work. So consider your personas, as mentioned before, and evaluate the way how you can create the best user adoption way, bring the technology to the people, and don't think everyone is equal. Yes, they are from the personal perspective, from human perspective, but they are not from the training perspective. Everyone is handling a telephony or Teams, even the PC, on a completely different way. Consider this in your complete migration when you go from the traditional telephony to telephony via Teams. Next slide, please. That's coming. And for these different needs, you have different options. As mentioned before, you have so many different ways to bring the backend system right into your organization or combine your existing backend system with Microsoft Teams, for example, with a standalone solution or with an SBC where you can connect legacy devices. This is basically the same for the users. If you have the idea to bring a new technology into the existing environment, you have to consider how to proceed with a device they touch on a regular basis. And this is something they make a call from or get a call to. So you should consider how to handle the headsets. Is your strategy to bring only headsets into your company? That's good, but give them an option. Give the users different options to use a headset, an in-ear, over-ear, on-ear, mono-ear, dual-ear. That's something wireless, wired. There are so many different options and everyone is different. Just make a small option where the users can choose from. So make maybe 5, 6, 7 devices to create a small basket, and then they can put it. I prefer the small devices behind the ear. Someone is saying, no, I don't like it. I just want to have something on both ears because it's so noisy in the office or even in home office, whatever. And there are so many different options. But on the IT, you still have the control, which devices supported, drivers, connection, everything is good. And the users feels like, wow, I do have options. I can choose my personal device, my personal option for me, just for me, and that's great. And sometimes you have some users which are not willing to use a headset. If you're not in the position to enforce them, like the CXO, then you should have an option for the telephony on a desk phone. And then you can provide something like, yeah, traditional desk phone or Teams desk phone, to be honest. With touch, with an additional module, with a bigger screen, with a smaller screen, whatever is preferred. And once again, don't forget the assistances. They are important. They will help you if you if you find the right device for them, instead of putting just a cheap device on the desk because it works in a retail area. The same for your solutions in the conference room, in the meeting room. You have different options. Go and choose your strategy. Pick the right one for your organization. Even if there are some people traveling a lot, it maybe makes sense to put a small device for a conference phone to them, bring them a small conference device, and they can choose from and use it for an easier way to make a telephone call. There's a link to the whole list. You have more than 100 devices over all categories, so make your choice and go ahead. Make the people happy.
Hopefully, yeah.
And yeah, last but not least, our conclusion is it is important the Microsoft Teams is the best solution for telephony, for modern workplace. You have a huge flexibility. You can choose from different options, not only for the endpoint. You are able to connect legacy devices or even existing PBXs where you have some requirements from, and you can connect them to a new world. And even for the end users, you can bring the new technology to the end users.
Yeah. From our point of view, what is important here for the whole story is that you will not involve the telephony to another level, or to bring it to another level, to telephony 2.0 or something like that. So don't bring the expectation too high when you plan to do the telephony with Microsoft Teams in your company. Use more the options which are provided by Microsoft. So if you already use Microsoft in your company for the collaboration, for the exchange of information, then it's better to give the information to the user that besides these new technologies with collaboration and information exchange, we will also bring in the telephony to this tool. So in the tool which is common used in the company will be enriched about telephony, and then it should be fine and should work in your project. And that's it. Q&A. And I guess Drago has had a question. Do you need a service account for a Teams room device? And here
you can invite the people from the room device. You have to, as far as I know, by devices, you have to log in with an account.
Yeah, that's true. And here's the option to use the Microsoft Exchange online. So you will create a room mailbox in Exchange Online, and this room mailbox will create an user account, of course, which is disabled by default in the Azure Active Directory. And with some scripts, you will enable this account. Will give some special parameters and options to the account. And with the Teams Room device license, you will enable this account, and then it's possible to log in with this room account or room system account into the device itself. And then you also have the advantage that you can very easily book this or invite this room to your meetings. That you have one click to join experience on the device itself, that you can see on the Teams Room device which meetings are planned for the next few hours or for next week. And therefore, you have to create a room mailbox on Exchange Online, and then you will enable this room account with the Teams Room device license.
Thank you.
But just to make it clear, I've seen a couple of customers moving away from this advanced meeting room solutions. They still use the booking system from Exchange to book the rooms, but they have put in a small device with a good with a sound bar, with a camera on it, with a TV, and a USB connection, instead of something you have fully managed from the Teams admins with software on PCs, etc. This is it depends on your situation, on your requirements. Many customers are happy with these USB solutions because, to be honest, the world is a bit bigger as Microsoft. So if you have someone who's presenting something from WebEx or another solution, Zoom, for example, they can switch it, turn it on the device, and they're good to go.
Okay, thank you for this input.
You're welcome. So, any other questions? Not in the chat.
Okay, I think that's a no.
That's a no, yeah. So I would say we can close the session. Thanks a lot for joining us. Well, it was a pleasure, and have a nice evening, and have fun with the next session.
Also from my side.